Thanks for joining us. Welcome to today's VLink Tech webinar series. We want to thank you for joining us. The subject for today, the Agentic shift from manual to zero-touch AI workflows. I'm Tracy Gardner, the Global Marketing Director for VLink Inc., and I'll be your host today. Across every industry, organizations are definitely under pressure to move faster, operate leaner, and scale intelligently without increasing operational risk. Traditional workflows built around manual handoffs and disconnected systems are becoming increasingly difficult to sustain. Today's conversation focuses on how enterprises are shifting from reactive operations to AI-driven execution models powered by agentic AI and autonomous workflows. There's a couple things we're going to explore where agentic AI is creating measurable enterprise value, what secure zero-touch architectures actually look like, and what technology leaders need to prioritize now to stay competitive. And we also want to say that any participants who's here, stay till the end because you'll receive exclusive access to a live demo opportunity for a customizable conversational agentic AI platform designed to improve efficiency and drive ROI across enterprise functions. It won't be today, but we'll tell you how to get it, and we'll tell you how to get the perk at the end of the webinar. So I want to introduce the panelists real quick. Joining us today is Artem, co-founder and chief product officer at Assembly.ai. Artem previously held leadership roles at Ernst & Young and served as CTO at Visual Trading Systems. He has extensive experience delivering AI-driven transformation initiatives across Fortune 500 enterprises. We're glad to have him. And we're also joined by Emily Gupton, CTO at SKG Inc., where technology, design, and workplace innovation intersect. Emily leads AI strategy initiatives focused on transforming both digital and physical work environments while driving scalable technology modernization. We're just so glad to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Before we dive in, though, guys, I wanted to just real quick get a quick pulse from the audience and do a poll. We're going to throw a question up on the screen, and if everybody can vote, I'm not sure the panelists can vote, but if some of the participants want to vote, AI is no longer just about experimentation. We've been talking about that. It's becoming the operating layer for modern enterprises. So you can use it for, some people are using it for hiring. We've seen customer support, training, ed tech, compliance operations. You can see the question there on your screen. And where do you guys here in this webinar see the greatest opportunity to eliminate manual workflows and improve operational efficiency with AI? Multiple choice question. You can pick one or pick others, pick a few others if you want. And, we'll hold that up there for a few seconds. And as we do, and you vote, I also want to remind people to put your questions in the chat so that we can get to those. We'll definitely get to those as soon as they come in. So we've got the poll coming in. And do we have some results, Taryn, or yet? So maybe people just haven't voted yet. Maybe nobody's awake yet. There we go. So risk and compliance, where do you see the greatest opportunity to eliminate manual workflows and improve operational efficiency with AI? And it looks like definitely risk and compliance by 86%. So Artem, I just want to start with you. Does that surprise you at all?
I don't think it surprises me. Well, first of all, I would say that there's great potential for agentic across the board. I think risk and compliance is an immediate one. And in fact, it's funny, I just got off the call with one of my teams, and we were talking about applying our agentic models to self-healing systems, which is risk and compliance. So basically, we already have a pattern that allows agents to monitor and respond to any system risks in a way that they can self-heal environments or block security problems or potential problems and notify the operator of, here are the problems, here are immediate things I took care of, and here are things I need to escalate to you. And this is real. This is already happening. Now, it's happening in smaller environments today, but as this technology matures, it's going to get more and more robust across production. And this is the core of risk and compliance.
Yeah. And the term agentic AI, I mean, Artem, we're hearing it everywhere. It's everywhere right now. Um, how would you define it in practical enterprise terms?
Yeah, I think a lot of people use agentic differently.
Mhm.
So I would say this. First of all, agentic is a concept. It's a kind of an application, right? So like SaaS is a kind of an application, right? Software as
Mhm.
a service. Agentic is a kind of an application. So what makes something agentic versus not? Like how do you know? It's not one thing, right? But it's a type of app. The type is this. How do you know if it's agentic? So first of all, it's AI driven. What does that mean? It's non-deterministic. If it's deterministic, you call that a bot. If it's non-deterministic, you call it an agent. The second marker is that it's goal driven, not function driven. So it has a target to achieve, not a function to perform. And the third thing is, and this is what really makes it come alive, is that in achieving that goal, it can take steps and make independent decisions across those steps. Those decisions can include what next step to perform or which tools to use. And so once you
Mhm.
combine those three ideas, that's the agentic concept. Now, how you build an agent in that within that concept, that can vary wildly across the board from human looking agents on your meeting screen to
Yeah.
operational agents that self-heal systems. Now it becomes kind of how do you apply this application concept? But once you have those three pieces in place, you have something agentic going on.
And the self-healing thing just really blows my mind. I mean, it's crazy that we're talking about that with AI. It's nuts. What do you think's changed in the last 12 to 18 months that's accelerating adoption of agentic AI?
12 months everything when we're talking about AI, right? It's like
Exactly.
if you ask me 12 weeks, I can hardly enumerate 12 months. Well, I think going 12, 18 months back, Agentic was an idea. It
Mhm.
was an idea. I think there was fairly good consensus around the fact that Agentic is the way forward. But the foundational large language models were still problematic. They weren't as good at continuing work across long term problems. So they needed humans to step in and kind of put their nose to the task every so often. So you're
Mhm.
talking 12, 18 months back. They can do a couple of steps as an agent, but then on the third step, they're like, I'm so lost. Like, and then they just get in a loop and they can't really help themselves. A lot of people are talking about the fact that in December of last year, a few months ago, there was a major shift. So there was essentially a kind of a breakthrough in some of the frontier large language models that now allows them to run long-term agentic work. And I think that's
Mhm.
been a major breakthrough, and that unlocks this kind of self-driving agent paradigm because now
Yeah.
you have agents that are quote unquote smart enough when they can use some of these agentically oriented models to run long form activity. So Sonnet Opus from Anthropic is great. GPT-5.4 and higher is great. The latest from Gemini is great, but there's also really great open models too, like GLM. Minimax is kind of a cheapo contender in that space as well.
Yeah. Well, and Emily, I want to bring you in here. You are a CTO. You've been a CTO in the past. You've been one for a long time. Your roles kind of changed, and you can talk about that. But what signals tell you that someone would be ready, an organization might be ready for agentic AI? I mean, with the self-healing and all the things that we're hearing.
Yeah, and I'm going to come at it a little bit more now from I function as under technology and operations for a service provider company. So prior to that, I built a SaaS tool with my CEO. And my engagement now is serving our clients internally and externally and really building out the infrastructure to make our team operate well. And my team today is not as heavy on the developer side. So I'm really
Yeah.
focused on also standing up workflows and things like that for less technical humans. And I spend a lot of engagement in the community in that umbrella as well. I serve as president of Austin Women in Technology. And so I engage with lots of different organization types and organizational leaders there. So if I think, more broadly, those that really have the infrastructure to support agentic AI workflows and have the data infrastructure to do that and the proper guardrails, because I think that there are some leaders that are maybe even grappling with like, how do we deploy this and how do we deploy these things like safely and securely within our environments. And so I think understanding those things and the data integrity and like what decisions and what things you're going to let it do and starting small and then scaling can be powerful for folks that aren't living so heavily in the developer land using agents to run workflows. As Artem, you're very much in
Yeah,
the dev side now. So yeah,
for
would love to hear
sure.
your
You know, we
thoughts.
have, yeah, Gardam, go ahead, weigh in. And that's, interesting. Like I asked her, how do we know if an organization is ready for agentic AI?
Well, I would say all organizations are ready for agentic AI, but what does that mean? Right. So
Yeah.
you can take a teaspoon, a tablespoon, or you can take a 3 liter bottle. So, and where do you apply that mixture? Right. I used to say about kind of classic LLM that it's a material, it's not a product. So you can use
Mm,
AI or to sprinkle into your product, or you can make a whole component that's very AI centric, or the entire product can be AI like ChatGPT. So agentic is also, it's a concept, and then how do you apply? So I
mhm.
think broadly it's a super powerful concept, and it can be applied across the board. So where do you apply it and how do you do it? You start like it's like you eat an elephant, right? One piece at a time. You start small, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah. So I use that a lot with my teams. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? It's you one piece at a time. So
One
you
piece of
find low hanging fruit that are not client impacting, that are not production impacting, and you bring it in a very controlled environment. You pick your platform, you pick what it means, you think about, okay, what autonomous things you want it to do, which things should be escalated to a person, which things it's okay to do it on its own, and you put a group around it that starts getting comfortable with an agentic application in your midst, and you use it and you learn. It's a learning thing, just like SaaS was a learning thing. Not everyone
Yeah,
just jumped to the cloud and kind of scaled out SaaS. Like a lot of companies were like, we're never touching that. Fast forward 10 years, they're all on it. So this is
yeah,
the same thing. You run it and you learn, and you learn where it breaks, where
for
it's
sure.
resilient, what patterns are robust, what patterns have issues, and there's so many layers to this. Just think about, okay, model selection, sure, and there's cost and performance questions there, security questions, data retention questions around
Mhm.
model. But even think about within the models themselves, like there's parameters that tell the model how much to reason, how many tokens to use. Like all these things matter because, for
Mhm.
example, you can configure a model to burn all its tokens into reasoning, and it will won't give you an output in the end because it spent all its time thinking and it actually didn't produce the result. So I'm giving you like something very, very deep in the weeds just to give you a
Yeah,
flavor, the kinds of things that you're going to encounter when you're starting to run these things in the environment. So start small, start non-production, start not user impacting, create a team around it so that they start to get a comfort level around this technology in operations and deployment. And then once you have your learnings and you understand where the weaknesses and the strengths are, you start to
yeah.
think about larger and larger use cases.
One piece at a time. One piece at a time,
I
for
think
sure.
that it'll be interesting too to see like the skills that are required to continue to like monitor these things. And I love the idea of, because I'm very engaged in like workforce development, reskilling, things like that. Like employees are going to
Hmm.
become managers of agents that, maybe aren't managing people directly, but now they have this orchestration of things that they're trying to coordinate and have to monitor and make sure they're not like going rogue or off the rails within their own workflows. So I think it's really
Yeah,
exciting also for people to flex some of those kind of managerial skills in overseeing the technology orchestration in their workflows. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that and how much kind of creative and critical thinking skills are going to be required for the technology landscape and even, moving into non-tech and non-product driven companies like this agentic orchestration, whether you're in marketing or sales, is going to become very real for all orgs. So super, super excited to
such a
see that
good
happen.
point. Such a good point. And do you guys think there's some big misconceptions out there among executives about autonomous systems, or what are your thoughts on that? You think what misconceptions would they have? about autonomous systems, executives that are considering?
Emily, you want to try first and I'll follow up?
Sure. I mean, I think that that can range from, um, I think it kind of depends on the leader's comfort with understanding what agentic things are capable of today and how that shifts and changes. I think it could be everything from, this is going to take over and optimize without question a specific workflow, but in reality, when you dig into it, that's not necessarily the case, or it requires rework. It's not going to necessarily fix something immediately overnight, and remove work and oversight, all the way to, people being afraid to implement these things because it's going to take their data and it's not going to work and it's going to break stuff. So I think depending on what industry you're in and who you're talking to, those thoughts are kind of all over the map.
Yeah.
Because I do run across a lot of different like industries and conversations, and those are things that are very real that we're talking about. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
What
Artem,
do you,
I'd
what
love
about
to.
you, Artem? What do you
I
think
think a lot,
executives fear or have
yeah, I think
misconceptions about?
a lot of the problems today, I think, are a shortcoming in our common understanding of terms because it's a conceptual new chapter in technology, and we haven't really standardized and solidified across everyone what everyone means when they say agentic. I see it every day because I see like a lot of the products in the landscape that say they're AI, that say they're agentic, they're all over the place. Like, so there's no common language around this yet. And of course, when there's no clear contour around what do you mean when you say agentic as an executive, especially in a large company, it's a challenge to communicate what you know what you're concerned about when it
Exactly.
comes to agentic. From my
Yeah.
perspective, and I'm not sure this is industry wide yet, is you can talk about agentic the same way you talked about internet 25, 30 years ago. An
Yep.
executive coming out and saying like we're not going to internet is scary or something. Like, you can't say that. It's like you have to be web enabled. Now what does that mean? So I think I think executives are concerned about, of course, letting something loose and self-driving in an environment that they cannot control. And
Yeah.
that's a correct fear. You should be concerned about that. Like that's understandable. That's like saying, like, you can't plug the internet to your private document store and just say voila, right? That's not a good idea. Everybody's going to
Right.
see your is the same thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
I think
it's
we do have a
about
question.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
We do have a question that someone put in the chat. You guys have worked across multiple industries. Where are you seeing the fastest ROI from AI-driven workflow orchestration today?
Yeah, I
Either of
can
you?
talk kind of from
Yeah.
a more service provider, less technology lens today. I think it's removing a lot of redundant, tedious work from workers that maybe never thought that they would be orchestrating agents across the organization. So yesterday I spoke on a panel at a conference here in Austin, and one of my counterparts is over product marketing at a large company, and I mean, she's deploying them all over the place to handle everything from like tedious website evaluation across multiple endpoints and having the agent tell her where things are inaccurate or there are errors or things of that nature, and then deploying like a separate agent to go fix them. And those roles, like, it's so interesting to watch this application across different industries and roles and how people are teeing these up, and the curious ones that are like digging in and being able to automate these things to then open these people up for bigger strategic thinking. And when I look at like young developers coming into the workspace, those people learning how to do agent orchestration and use the LLM and the other tools, to build out their portfolios and demonstrate that they can really manage the orchestration of these and then apply critical business thinking skills. Like, I think that's what's going to carry us forward. But I love watching the ROI for things that I think different people in departments never thought possible across sales, marketing, all of that, and just optimizing that in a way that is just so powerful. And it's happening so rapidly. Like, Artem, I know you mentioned the 12 to 18 months ago. Like, I'm thinking
12
one
weeks.
month ago, what was the world like? It's crazy. And so
It
to think
does.
about what that's going to be at the end of 2026 is just, I'm excited for that time.
And I think so many people are deploying pilots and things like that. What do you think separates scalable AI art implementations from experimental pilots that never mature? What's that difference? What's that one thing, do you think?
So a successful pilot builds towards a like a center of excellence. So meaning that if you treat a pilot as just like a software or a product in the environment and you're learning the features, that's not the right way to go about it. So what creates a pilot that's scalable is creating all of the associated knowledge across the organization on how, all of the, I like to say that when technology touches reality, things break. And this is especially
Yeah,
true for a powered tech. And so
yeah.
it's not and it's not just about like what are the features or use cases that this AI or agentic solution provides. It's not just that. That's because the use cases and features are dynamic in the AI world. And so it's more about what are the boundaries, and what are the guardrails. And you need to have organizational knowledge around that so that when you're going to scale to adjacent teams or other departmental teams, you can carry that knowledge across. It's very different than classic software.
Mm-hmm.
Classic software is functional. So you click a button
Mm-hmm.
that has B on it, it makes it bold. AI is not like that. AI is like make the document beautiful. Now, what does that mean? Sometimes it will ruin your document. So it's a different way of thinking about it. I think a good model that generally works, and this is weird and surprising, but welcome to the AI age, is to think of it more when you're bringing AI, especially agentic AI, into your organization. You should think of it like you're hiring a person or bringing or onboarding a team, and you'll be
Mm-hmm.
surprised on
Mm-hmm.
how many things check out. So, for example,
That's a good way to look at it.
would you ever bring a person into your organization, put them in front of your company computer and say, okay, give me this thing, this here's a task? No. Why? You have to onboard them. You have to introduce them to the team. You need to give them access to the environment. You need to explain them when people work and don't work, what your culture is. It's very unintuitive that this is something you need to do with a tech product. But guess what? You need to do that with an agent because it needs that depth of context to start to do useful things in your environment. Otherwise, it'll do something weird, which is
Yeah.
what a person would do if you just threw a person in the middle of a task and didn't tell them, like, here's who your team is, here's where you are on the org, here's who you report to, here's your level of autonomy, and like you can never really do these kinds of things. Like if you don't explain that to a person, somebody will go into your organization and email the CEO of Goldman Sachs, hey, I'm from so and so, right? Like you do, an intern would do that if you didn't explain to them what's going on.
Such a
You
great
have to think
analogy.
about
Yeah.
you have to think about
Yeah.
agents in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think having that
Exactly.
like oversight too, that goes to that, like having the human in the loop oversight to monitor the output. Models change, things change, and so being able to monitor that, I think, is also something that's really critical. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting, Artem, to hear you talk about, you've got to train it. It's like the intern, and I think for some people also that are just learning and delving into this, it's even taking the time to understand how to build those guardrails and what parameters to put around that, and meeting with others in the ecosystem that have successfully deployed and scaled. I think I saw a stat recently that 30% of pilots that are agentic within organizations become actual scalable things that they can use. So I think it's also being flexible and like either pivoting or being like, hey, this did not work out. We gotta shut this down. We're not ready for this thing to be managed through an agent. But we'll see how that shifts in, 6 to 12 months and if that stat changes significantly or not.
So fast. I mean, it's crazy to think in that 12-week term. I mean, like you said, what's going to happen at the end of 2026? We have a few minutes left, so put your questions in the chat. I also forgot to mention at the beginning of the webinar that those who attended not only will receive access to the free demo if you're interested, put that in the chat, but also we offered a coffee card to any of those who attended. So and registered, and we'll be giving that as well after the webinar. So do you guys see AI agents changing the future of workplace operations and collaboration? I mean, I think we've obviously said it would. How do you see it doing that? I mean, how profoundly will it change it?
I think we're already seeing it. So,
Yeah.
one thing I didn't mention is that so like when people talk agentic, they like to talk about dreamy things, which are what I call broad scope use cases for agentic. But there are narrow scope use case products for agentic. So assembly is an example of that product. Like the
Yes.
agents in our platform, they're focused on researching across your organizational knowledge and creating documents based on that information. So statements of work, sales proposals, etc. That's a very narrow agentic use case. It's very different. That's not an agent you need to introduce to your team. Now, the our platform will ask you a few important things when it starts because it needs some data points to orient itself, but it knows exactly which data points it needs. It makes sure to get them before it proceeds with delivering the work. Like it needs to know how
Yeah.
large your organization is. It needs to know who you are in the organization. It will pull other information, by the way. Once it knows your org, it will identify like what your business does. It does all that on its own. But there are data points it knows it needs contextually to be performant. There's a few, like 4, 5, 6. But once it gets them, it's good to go. Like you don't need to really then like look at it, monitor it. Like it will start producing documents and answers across your knowledge base, across your meeting content that are very, very relevant. Because it's narrow. It's very narrowly scoped. Like it's not
That's
going to try to
awesome.
go out and email anybody. I think that's important to say is that there are narrow agentic products, and those are already revolutionizing how people work. They're
Hmm.
they're compressing
Absolutely.
what used to take a week into a few minutes of interaction with an agent.
Yeah, and we do have a question, guys. How can we differentiate ourselves as in product when where so many generic and open LLMs are available, which also provide enterprise versions? How I think it's one question, maybe two. How will you defend security parameters when these companies are providing hundreds of compliance and audit reports as a trust factor? How can we differentiate? Let's take the first one. How can we differentiate ourselves as in product when so many generic and open LLMs are available, which also provide enterprise versions? That's a good question. I mean, Artem, let's point out that you were into AI before AI was even popular, a thing. In 2019, you developed your product, assembly.ai, and it's been around for a long time. Maybe you'd be great to answer that.
Yeah, we're the OGs. We're the OGs in
And
the
the
AI market.
OGs, yeah.
Before AI school, yeah, 2019 is when we started. Um, Great question, first of all. I
Yeah.
think if I had a magic wand around that, I think I'll be extremely popular. I think this is what everyone is thinking. How do you differentiate? Here's
Yeah.
what I'll say. So first of all, models are not a product. They have a last mile problem. So they are good at general things for you in the individual in the moment. When you're talking about offering a solution to a team, to a company, to a large organization, you
Hmm.
need to build things for that environment. These could be audit type things. These could be data retention type things. These could be kind of controlling what topics are and are not appropriate type things, specializations for verticals. It's the difference, one analogy we used to use is it's the difference between having Excel and having QuickBooks. Like Excel can do all that stuff. Does that mean you're going to do all your accounting by yourself in Excel? No, you're going to get QuickBooks, or even more, you're going to get like a more powerful product. Is the same thing.
Right.
LLMs are the Excel, right? Yeah, they can technically do all those things individually. Does that mean you're going to use Excel to do like, no, right? There's things QuickBook provides, and every serious company uses QuickBooks and not Excel to manage their financials. So I think that's how you should think about it. It's specializing in the use
Hmm.
case, and the use case should do what products do well, which is be delightful, be easy, be secure, be privacy aware,
Yeah,
be
good
scalable,
point.
performant, and also products have different feels. So like some products are a little bit more casual, some products a little bit more formal. Products create an experience. LLMs just provide the function, just like Excel
Hmm.
just provides the function, but QuickBooks creates an experience. And I think that's a good way to think about it. And I think if you apply that analogy, maybe some ideas around product creating a product that uses this tech will come to the fore.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I can
great.
also,
Well,
I can
go
like,
ahead, Emily, because yeah, we're almost out of time,
yeah.
but weigh in, please.
I'll be quick. I'll just say, I'm a consumer of a lot of these things now for our team and assessing what we're going to implement within our organization. And Artem, like 100% nailed it. When we're like, we don't have a large development staff right now, right? So I don't have people that I can just like deploy to go build me my own note taker tool that joins my meetings and does AI summaries and agentic things and all that. So for me,
Right.
I am looking for the thing that my team will jive with and understand how to use from like a non-technical
Mhm.
landscape, and also takes into consideration my privacy, like data integrity parameters. And when we deploy things like that, that's something I'm really, really intense about validating. And so I think exactly what you said is correct, Artem. I don't want to take the time to hire somebody to build something that does that when there are already products in the market like Simply and others that do it beautifully, and I can just deploy that within our environment and it works and it's wonderful. So I love that
And I
answer.
would say just definitely do your due diligence too. I think that's so important, through all of this and make sure that they're meeting all the tick marks that we spoke about,
Yeah.
today, for sure. Any last thoughts from either of you? We have a few minutes left. If and I know we're a little bit over, if everybody wants to stay for a few minutes. Artem, Emily, any last thoughts?
I'm just excited to see come back in 6 months and see what we're all up to. I
Yeah,
am excited about the future, and I know there can be a lot of like doom and gloom and scary things around agents taking jobs, but I think the things that it's going to open up for us as a society when the hands are played correctly with the right guardrails are going to make it awesome. And I'm excited for the next frontier.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Artem,
I
anything
think
for
I think we're living in a transformational moment in human history. I think this agentic concept is extremely powerful, and my personal belief it's going to lend itself to miracles of technology that haven't been possible. Things like medications that are hyper personalized, longevity
yeah,
science. I think all kinds of efficient energy formulations, anything that's complex and molecular that would take a team of hardcore scientists to crack over decades. A team of scientific agents can accelerate that process by significant amount. So I think as humanity, we stand to greatly benefit, but with great power comes great responsibility. And I think it's
absolutely.
also that we keep that in mind and build that framework of safety in parallel with the framework of innovation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again to you both. You guys have been both so great for your insights today. Such a great conversation. Definitely one we'll maybe revisit, like Emily said, at the end of the year. Would be great to just see how things have changed from where we're at today on May 13th to the end of the year. So, at the beginning of the webinar, we promised you an attendee perk. We're offering you exclusive access to a live demo of customizable Agentic AI suite solution designed by VLink. If you guys are interested in that, just drop your name in the chat. That'll help drive our ROI across enterprise functions. So put your email in the chat. And of course, if you want to talk to Emily with SKG Industries or Artem with Assembly.ai, their contact information is on the slide that we're showing you here. And you can contact them. And just want to thank you again, Emily and Artem. What a great conversation. And look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Have a great day, everybody.